Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending where you're situated. My name is Clarissa Dos Santos, and I want to talk about my culture today. So, um, first thing is, I want to talk about being Brazilian. I am Brazilian. I live in New Jersey. I grew up in New Jersey, actually. I came here when I was 4 years old, but all my family lives in Brazil, and only my two sisters and my mom live here. So I grew up in a Brazilian household, but I went to an all-white school. I live in an all-white community, mostly Italian Americans, and that strongly affected my personality and who I am today. Um, Being Brazilian has its distinct traits. So, like my language can be described as like a cultural universal. So, a common trait in all beings. Like all beings need language to interact with other people. So, to me, I have three distinct languages that I communicate with other people. It is Portuguese, that I mostly communicate with my family and other Brazilians. Spanish, in which I communicate with a lot of my friends, a lot of people at work who speak Spanish, and English, which is what I commonly use just to communicate most of the time throughout my days. So, um, growing up, I didn't realize, like, when I went to school that not everyone spoke Portuguese, and I was surprised when I went to school that no, only my family spoke Portuguese, and it was a distinct part of my culture, especially growing up being Brazilian. I was probably the only Brazilian in the surrounding towns around me, and only Brazilian in my school. So that strongly affected me based on communication wise, because I learned Portuguese first, followed by English. So at first, going to school, it was a little bit tough to uh, be part of the culture and really express myself the way I was used to expressing myself at home. So another distinct part of culture, well, my Brazilian culture, that really affects me is like symbols. So, Brazilian culture has symbols. We have, our flag, which is the most symbolic thing to us. So the flag is green, yellow, and it's not on. Well, actually, it is on the shirt. It's blue. My Brazilian shirt. Um, all those colors kind of symbolize Brazil, and especially the stars. I mean, the constellation is on our flag, so these things are very symbolic of, you know, who you are and where you come from. I mean, you could just wear this shirt and it symbolizes so much. It symbolizes our country in various ways. Our soccer team, our food, our language, everything. I mean, everything is everything is within that flag. So what I mean is, it communicates all that part of all the typologies of that culture in one distinct symbol. So that flag is very powerful. When you wave that flag, you symbolize everything that it is to mean Brazilian. So moving on, I'll talk about my family. So I told you that I do have different family members, but the most influential part of my family is my sister. This is a picture of me when I was younger, my sister and I. Um, you know, my sister really was a really important part of my life in terms of what values I thought were important, a really important part of my life. So in case you guys don't know, which I'm sure you do, values are judgments about what is important or meaningful. So to me, growing up, my sister always ingrained in me what is important: to be a kind person, to be giving, to communicate with people, and to love and to, give to other people. Those are the values that were set by my sister because me and her spend the most time together. She is 7 years older than me, so I saw her really more like a second mom to me than a sister. So she had a very important role in really shaping my ideas of what the world meant. And also habitus. So habitus, as you guys know, because you guys took the test, you took the chapter test. So habits are diverse ways in which individuals develop intuitive understanding and ingrained habits reflecting cross background and upbringing. So, like I said, I was Brazilian. I grew up in a Italian American community, but my habits um, was very influenced by my sister because just in my family in general, you can say that we're all very independent women, and we kind of reinforce the idea of doing things yourself. So growing up, I always had that idea that favors shouldn't be asked, and whenever there's opportunity to do something, you should probably do yourself before you ask other people. It's just a habit of mine to be very independent, and also, like, unfortunately, be very cold to people. I mean, my sister kind of taught me that you shouldn't be not trusting, but you should be a little bit not so friendly as a woman in general, like in this society, because men take it the wrong way. So that's my habits of just being hardworking, very independent. I mean, that's probably the central thing that I learned from my family, is to be very independent, which explains why I live on my own and I'm only 22. And I have been living on my own for the past 5 years. So that all influenced me very quickly. So all these things are part of habit is symbols. So moving forward, I want to talk about my job. So just give me 1 second. So I work at an Italian restaurant, but we serve brunch in the morning and dinner at night. And I just want to show this mug here. It doesn't symbolize anything, but it's just a mug that represents all the things. Like, it's part of kind of, it's easy to explain when I incorporate into the idea of toolkits. So toolkits is a set of symbols, skills that we learn throughout cultural environment. So in my job, I am a barista in the morning. So as a barista, I need to know a lot of things. I need to know how to make all the coffees. I need to know how to make cappuccinos. What's the ratio between espresso, foam, milk, and lattes, mochachinos, all the things you can think of. And I mean, this mug is symbolic because I need to know all the different things, how to make all these different kind of coffees. Lattes, iced lattes, all these things have distinct measurements, have distinct names, and people will, say like they want a dry cappuccino, which, well, actually, let's say a dry latte, which means mostly espresso, little milk, so that's dry. These different things I need to know in order to give people the best service that they need. Another important thing is that I'm a food runner in the weekends. So, as a food runner, I need to bring the food to the table. Now, this may sound simple, but there's tickets in front of me that I need to read, and I need to understand what it means. So when they say sub this, sub that, don't do this, I mean, that means that the person doesn't want this on their plate, they're allergic to this, they're allergic to that. Also, when I go to the table and I bring their plates, someone might say, oh, I also asked for a side of bacon. Now, that means I have to go back to the kitchen. I have to say, can I have a side of bacon on the fly? On the fly means the kitchen has to make it fast so that I can bring it immediately back to the table. Also, there's holds. Dinner time and brunch does holds. That means that someone is eating their appetizer. Now, I put the ticket on hold, and until they finish their meal, that's when I fire the ticket. Fire means that the kitchen should start doing the next course. All these things are just distinct things that I learn as being not only a barista, but being a food runner. It ties back to the symbolism thing and the language. I mean, we have a distinct language that we use to communicate to each other. So that's really important. And also, another thing that's incorporated to my job is cultural ethics. I mean, we have guidelines and rule books, and just we know, when we serve different people, people are coming from different parts of the world, different places, different ages, groups, everything. So we used cultural ethics to evaluate cultural meaning, and practice in their own social context. So, this is what I do every day at work. Every person is different. Everyone we serve is a different, unique person. So, we can't just put a one size fits all in their service. So, if someone is, antsy about the fan and they don't want the fan because it makes them uncomfortable, they're cold, we turn off the fan. Now, by the rule book, we are not supposed to turn off the fan throughout the day. But again, like, you have to know the social context of it. What if it's an elderly woman who's freezing and, or a child who, is a baby, and you can't just put the fan there or have it being that cold in the restaurant, and that makes the people very uncomfortable. So all these things, it depends on the actual situation. There's rules and how we should handle certain situations, but every person is different and everything you do is going to be different, and you're going to have to break some rules in order to help the customer out. So that's really important in my job. Another thing is norms. So social norms are shared assumptions of correct behavior. That ties in back to cultural ethics. So I come with my own norms that I think is normal to act like in society. But the more you meet different people, everyone has a distinct norm. Everyone behaves, everyone is talkative where they believe it's appropriate to speak loudly or to, order these crazy things. Everyone has a different norm. For example, there's one customer who's a regular. She breastfeeds her child during the restaurant. To me, I don't care, but that's again my Brazilian side of me. Brazilians always do that. That's a normal thing in my country. But here, even though we're a little open-minded, we're more open-minded, let's say, about, these things, it still makes us a little bit hesitant or flinch a little bit when everyone's, eating their meal and there's one woman breastfeeding her child. But moving forward, I'm going to talk about religion. So to me, my religion kind of incorporates a lot of like counterculture. Well, let me explain. So I get a lot of my ideas of spirituality and what I believe in based on the counterculture revolution of like, the 60s. So like the beatniks or whatever, or the hippies, kind of like basing off like Eastern religion and being a little bit more like open-minded to different things. So these are the two books I read, or one of the few books I read. So I have this book on chakras, has different pictures, symbols, all these different things. Something that I use in meditation, thinking about or not thinking about, just being one with myself. I think it's really important. This is another book. This is more like African religion, I'd say. Just all these things are about being one with yourself and being more like going towards like different ailments and different problems you have in life in a more holistic way. So the counterculture is what I use to kind of have this idea of what I want to be, studying or practicing. I know that sounds a little bit silly, but growing up, I always loved and admired the beatniks and the poetry and, Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg. All these people really inspired me through their writings and who they were, and I wanted to know if these people, and including the hippies too, it's very similar, and all these political revolutions. So I went to see what these people that inspired me so much, what are they reading? What are they being inspired of? What they believe in? And I found out it's these things, and through learning these things, I kind of understand myself a little bit better, and it's very important to me to have spiritual belief. Not so much in the indoctrinated beliefs now. I grew up Roman Catholic, but me and my sisters, we're all very similar. We incorporate a lot of different religions into our belief system, and including my mother. She's very spiritual like me, and we have different things. Another thing I want to show is these like sage sticks. So again, I incorporate a lot of my different customs and what I do since I don't go to like church or mass like weekly. I just kind of incorporate different ideas, different things of different cultures, kind of into what I choose is best for me. So sage sticks are, just like if you think like if you have essence sticks, um, they just burn. So you burn them, and they kind of supposed to purify yourself, purify the surrounding area of evil spirits or of negative energy. All these things that I think that I really truly believe in, and it really helps me. I mean, it really helps me to kind of have a practice still, like because I don't go to church. It I still have my practices of what I do that I feel like is, like a religious practice, just unique to me, things that I incorporate in my life. So, the last thing I want to talk about is Spotify and Snapchat, which are two like subcultures. So, it's just a small group of people affiliated with shared beliefs, and practices. So, my Spotify kind of like, in a nutshell, really like shows what kind of person I am, not in a negative way. So, this is my Spotify. I don't know if you can tell here, it's kind of glary. But I have music from all walks of life, all around the world. What I mean is by that, I have Brazilian country music here. I have Aventura. I have Romeo Santos. I have, Death from Above, which is a post-punk band, and I have hip-hop, and I have rock, and I have punk. I have just all these different, like, different genres of music. And, it kind of, like, represents my subculture, in which I mean, like, music kind of connects different people. So, I just showed you distinct aspects of myself that are unique to me. I'm Brazilian, I work in a restaurant, etc. Now, I love music, and I love going to concerts and festivals. And when I go there, I meet all these different people from different walks of life with different cultures of themselves, and we kind of form a subculture based on our similar likes in music. Like, let's say Interpol. Interpol is a band that I adore. And actually, I want to show this shirt that I have from Death from Above. One of my favorite shirts. So it just says that and Death from Above. It's a really nice emblem in the back. But going back to what I was saying, Interpol is one of my favorite bands. Now, I don't think, and actually, I don't know if anyone who's an Interpol fan has a similar background to me, but again, we all come from different backgrounds. And every time I've gone to Interpol concert, I've seen people that are in their 40s, in their 30s, in their 20s, even in their 50s. There's people from all walks of life, from different places, and we all come together and we enjoy one thing. And I think that's really special. So, thank you guys for hearing me out. All these about to be 20 minutes. I really like watching all your videos, and I hope you like mine, and I hope you, kind of understand your own culture based on how I explained it. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good day.